It's one of the best film series, let's face it, and it's just, for so many people, this film is more than about boxing. This is about somebody who just never gives in, no matter what obstacle comes to them, right? And it is brilliant. It is full of absolutely everything that you could want in a film to make you think, I want to watch it again! And I did many, many times. And this is my absolute pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen. I've just written it down to make sure that I get this in the right order because I'm quite giddy. I'm very excited because we have got the Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting, the Count of Monte Cristo, the Prince of Punch, the Master of Disaster, the one and only Carl Weathers! Even better than that! It's a
Thank you. You're very excitable. And Laura has a way of getting people revved up, doesn't she?
It's because I'm so excited because I'm, first of all, on a complete digression, I love you in Arrested Development.
Yeah!
I was just getting a stew on, that's all.
That part.
Many of you have no clue what we're talking about, do you?
Who's seen Arrested Development?
Yeah!
But how many people, put your hand up, understand I was just getting a stew on? See, how many? 3 people? 2 people? Okay, so I've got to give you context. In Arrested Development, I play myself, or a version of myself. Not version of myself. And this myself, we created, This gets more and more interesting all the time. In that version of myself, I play one of the cheapest guys on the planet. The kind of person who you'd go out to a bar with, and he'd put his bill on your tab because he might not have enough money in his pocket, or he forgot his credit card, or anything like that. So, during the course of the shows I was on, I have this kind of crazy thing for Liza Minnelli, and she has it for me. And one night I'm in her apartment, and the guy who wants to be the guy who falls in love with her comes over and sees I'm there, and is shocked that Carl Weathers is with Liza Minnelli. And I tell him, well, we were just getting a stew on. And that means I was cooking for it. Anyway, it's boring, I know, but it's funny in the show, so watch Arrested Development, why don't you?
Really, really good show, but what I first saw you in, and what is a film that, I'll let you all into a secret, it was #1 the week I was born, Eye of the Tiger.
This is frightening me.
Oh yeah.
The week you were born?
The week that I was born, no, it was #1. And Rocky and that song have been so instrumental in my life because of the positive message that it gives out there, because it says never give in, no matter what life is throwing.
It's been instrumental in my life too. My bank account grew as a result of that movie. Well, I'm glad that Eye of the Tiger was, how many people was Eye of the Tiger instrumental for in this audience? What did it mean to you? Wow, quite a few people. Okay, well, there you go. There's the power of movies and the power of movie scores. So good.
Exactly, and you hear it and you just think about, because these actors, they're not just actors to us, are they? They're like inspirations. They're people who we look up to, who we draw on. And Apollo he's such a fantastic character, and I did shed a tear in Rocky IV, spoiler alert, but you probably all have seen it. And what was it like to be a part of that film? Like, can you put it into words? Like, all of them.
You know, being asked a question like that, and I mean this from my heart in a good place, I do. It's like asking, when you learned to ride a bicycle, what was that like? What was it? Well, everybody's ridden a bicycle at one point, you've fallen, and that's what it's like. You get on and you try it and it works, or it doesn't work. And of many acting jobs I've done over my career, and before that when I was studying theater in university, and before that when I was doing plays in school, what's it like? It's like learning to ride a bike. Every time you get up, and once you learn how to ride a bike, then you try to learn how to balance on the bike, and then you learn how to not fall on the bike, and then you learn how to ride the bike without hands on the handlebars, and then you learn how to coast without having to pedal really hard, and it just goes on and on. It's just a learning experience. So what was it like? It was like acting in a movie. It was like all the acting jobs I've ever had. The difference is that people somehow connected to that character in ways maybe that they didn't connect to every other character. So all I can say is, it wasn't so much what Apollo Creed was like, it was more like, what are audiences like? Why do they connect to Apollo Creed? You know, what is it that character somehow touches in you that makes you not only like and revere that character, but brings out something in you that's very special, unique, important, that does something in your life and makes it a little easier as you move along your memory lane.
I like it. So when you started, because I know that it's obviously very physically demanding what you were doing, like, how much extra training did you all have to do for that? Because, I mean, they were very, very ripped, weren't they, all of the characters in that anyway, so we know that you were all in good condition. What additional things did you all have to do?
Well, for every movie that any actor does that's physical, you train. That's what you do. For that movie, and more probably since then also, I think actors have become much more aware of not just training, but diet, and how important that is. And certainly if you're going to be in a movie, and you're going to basically be in your shorts, literally and figuratively, doing the movie, and you're going to be without clothes on for all that amount of time, and people are going to get a chance to see every piece of flesh that those shorts don't cover, then you are incentivized to really work hard on looking as good as you can. And on top of that, if you're really fortunate and God has blessed you with some decent genetics and some athleticism, and you learn your craft and what to do in front of the camera to make it look even better, you might luck out and become an Apollo Creed kind of character. So all of that stuff went into it. It was training, dieting. And finally we get in the ring and we have to learn how to do what we do to make it look real. All of that was, I think, a part of how it finally comes across. From the screen, through the theater, in the darkness, and you watch it, and then you go back and watch it on TV, and then you watch it in the reruns of the TV, and then you watch it on the Rocky Marathon, and then you watch the little clips of it on YouTube, and then we talk about it. So it just, you do what you do to make it look as good as you can, and then you hear somebody ask you a question about what did you do to make it look that good?
Sorry.
I know, this is really tough, isn't it? I'm making it really tough.
But I don't know if many people are aware of this, but I've heard a rumour that I believe to be true, that you actually filmed the fight scene backwards. So you started with all the makeup on. True. Is this not it? I was watching something that said...
Whoever told you that? That makes no sense whatsoever.
This was what I was reading on Wikipedia and stuff.
You can't trust Wikipedia?
I know. I thought to myself, it sounds a bit outrageous, so I'll ask Carl on stage.
Wikipedia? You rely on accurate information? Wikipedia?
But more of a conversation starter. So is that, did you ever do that with them? Like, did you, because they said that they put the makeup on.
No. See, I'm just throwing all these myths. No, this is what happened actually. We trained for the very first movie, actually for everyone I did the fights in, right? I was fighting. You'd always shoot the fights in the beginning of the movie. Why? Giving away the secrets, okay? Why? Because you want to train to look your absolute best. And where would you shoot that then? Right after you finish the training. So shoot that first. And then go back and do all the rest of the movie, where you don't have to take your clothes off all the time, right? So that's what happened. We would train for a couple of months, really hard. And maybe 2.5 to 3 months, depending on how much. And the first 2 in particular, because we were in the ring all the time. And then we'd go and shoot for 7 to 10 days, shoot the the fight part of it, right? And some of the training and that stuff. And then you shoot all the basic scenes that lead up to the big fight afterwards. So in that respect, you shot it backwards, the fight first rather than the fight last. But when it comes to makeup, the applications and the great Michael Westmore, who did all the makeup for the Rocky movies I was in, who, by the way, is one of, if you know anything or if you aspire to be a makeup person in the movie business, Michael Westmore and his family, the Westmore family, have done movies forever. Those are some of the greatest makeup artists that have ever been involved in the movie business. And Michael probably is he isn't the last, because he's a son and a daughter, I think, who were sort of involved also. But I was very fortunate. I worked with 3 of the Westmores at different times in my life. But Michael built all those applications where we looked like we were beaten up and did the makeup for that. And so we owe so much to him, because you could then, once he did the molds for your face and put those things on, you can take them on and off easily, relatively, because there's glue and all that sort of stuff involved. And then you can add more when you need it, right? So Michael Westmore doesn't get enough credit. It's like, you know, the score, right? Without those great scores, Rocky, in my opinion, wouldn't be what it is. So you've got makeup people, you've got great cameramen, and many people don't know this, who aren't really movie and trivia people, but the Steadicam, if you know what the Steadicam is, it's this handheld device where you can move and do all kinds of things that at one time you wouldn't be able to do. The guy who invented that used it on Rocky. I think it may have been the first or second movie it was ever used on. So all that stuff in the fight in the ring, and what helps make it look so believable is he could move the camera and put it in places that normally, if you did handheld, it would be really jiggly and look kind of odd and weird, but he could move it so smoothly. And it's just, we were real fortunate. Rocky was kind of a groundbreaker because of all of that. And then, of course, we had the great John Avildsen, who directed Rocky, who directed Save the Tiger, who directed Joe, who directed, so many great movies. Some of them just escape me right now, but great movies. And then we had, of course, the guy who wrote the damn thing, Sylvester Stallone. So, I mean, you know, for a guy like Carl Weathers walking into that, you don't know how fortunate you are until 40 plus years later when we're talking about it. And all those immensely talented people, including Burgess Meredith and Burt Young and Talia Shire, you know, who starred in the movie alongside Sly and me. I mean, wow, man. You know, it's like, that's a piece of history. So when people look at these movies, what went into it was really special. And then you have the producers, you know, Irwin Winkler. I mean, these guys produce some huge movies. It just, you know, it was just like Kismet. Now, 40-something years later, you can go back and see, oh, that's why that movie's so great. Look at that constellation of people who, for whatever reason, came together on a low-budget movie that was budgeted for under $1 million. People don't realize that. $1 million today sounds like a lot of money. Well, it ain't. And $1 million to make a movie back then, a studio movie, was like nothing. So we just were very lucky people.
Apollo, I remember watching Rocky 4, and it started off so well. Like, you were so funny in the press conference. When you came on and they were singing Living in America, and then what happened, and I actually shed a tear, I'm not ashamed to say it. It was like, what the hell is going on? When you actually were face to face with Dolph, like up here, was it as terrifying as it actually looked? Because he looked scary.
No.
Really? You are hard. You are really hard.
I'm a good actor, okay? You know, again, along the way, if you think about it, Mr. T, what a great Antichrist. I mean, really, Dolph Lundgren, what a great Antichrist. I mean, these guys were, first of all, the casting was perfect for both those guys. And for Dolph, it couldn't have been better casting. Plus, on top of that, great guy, cool guy to work with. And so we had a situation that just, again, the script was right. You know, the script was right, the time was right, so many great elements, and hey, at least I can say in 4 of those movies, I was a part of it, and they all worked out really nicely, you know? And so much of you, again, you look at those characters, those actors who played those characters, Mr. T and Dolph, they did magnificent jobs.
Everything was just brilliant about it, wasn't it? And I'm not lying, I did actually cry. So I was like, what are you doing to Apollo?
A lot of people I have had, and I mean, since that movie, I remember, I don't know where I was, but I was walking down the street or in some mall or something like that, and this man came up to me with his family, young family, and I remember it distinctly because you do these movies and you know when they're successful, but sometimes you don't know how they affect people, how they really genuinely affect people. This man came up to me and he was with his family and he said, when you died, he didn't say when Apollo Creed died, he said, when you died, I cried. And there he is with his little kids, you know? And again, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 50 years as a professional now, you know? Yeah, I know it's a long time. But when you hear something like that, it really sort of reminds you of the power of cinema. Because you're just making a movie, but you don't really consider sometimes how significant it is for the person sitting on the other side of the screen in the darkness with a group of other people who came to just see a movie are touched emotionally or in a way that you could never have truly anticipated. And so that was like, really? For me, it was kind of an eye-opener. And of course, since then, I've heard this many, many times from a lot of people. So, yeah, you're not alone in that. You know? I mean, I guess we did our job in that case. You know, you were supposed to want to see the guy who killed Apollo Creed go down. Oh yeah.
I was so happy at the end of that film. From being really teary to being like, go on, Rocky! I'm sure that people have some questions. There's one straight here, Damien, on the front row, this gentleman.
Hi, Carl.
Hi.
You've been in 2 of my favourite films of all time, Rocky and Predator. You've starred with 2 great action film heroes. There's one particular film series that I think you're missing from. Are you going to be in the next Expendables?
Am I going to be in it? I haven't been asked to be in it. For some reason, it just popped into my head. I think I'm expendable. I haven't been asked to, and you know what? Funny that you mentioned that. Not even a thought. Who knows? Thank you.
Hi Carl, here in the middle, Harry. Hi Carl, good to have you here in Manchester anyway. I'd just like to elaborate if you can answer this question. I've heard it a few times, I don't know what the truth is. We're back to 76 when Rocky started filming in Philly. Is it true that they had no permits to film, and obviously Sly was transported around Philly and he was jumping out of the van and doing a lot of filming. And also the film was filmed in 28 days, if that's correct.
That's the questions?
Yeah, good questions.
Well, I'd answer...
Slight little elaboration on that.
No, in answer to your first question, I have no idea. And the reason I have no idea is I was never in Philly on the first movie.
Yeah.
The fight, and all this, everything you saw me in was all shot in Los Angeles. Not only was it shot in Los Angeles, the vast majority of it was shot in the offices. This is how little money they had. In the offices of Chardoff Winkler, the producers. And it looked like however many locations. One was supposed to be an airport. You know, we were walking down a corridor where they had an overhang. That set decoration does an amazing job in movies. You think you're in Iceland when you're sitting in Burbank, you know what I mean? The stuff, all of the stuff in Apollo Creed's offices, that was Irwin Winkler's office, right there on the lot, which was then MGM. Now it's Sony, right? Just there's an arch, and just as you go through their offices, they had these offices there, and that's where I shot it. There was something else I remember we shot the same. Oh, we had a press conference that was supposed to be, you know, some students in some arena. Sorry, I ate too much. You know, Philly, I never got to. I never got to Philadelphia until, I think, the third film, right? So your 28-day question? I have no idea, man.
So the filming, Carl, that was in Mighty Mix Gym, that was obviously filmed in LA in a gym in LA. In the gym, in Mighty Mix Gym. That was filmed in LA, it weren't filmed actually.
No. If they were in that gym, I wasn't in that gym. That was stuff shot in Philadelphia with Sly. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically what I mean is the internal filming was done.
Who knows? I don't know. Since I wasn't in the scene, I don't know where they shot that.
Okay,
the wonderful thing about movies is, if we're working in a movie together, you could shoot in London and I could shoot in Budapest. And if it's an interior in a building, who knows what city it's in? We can shoot an exterior anywhere in the world and make it that city, you know? So I have no clue where they shot that. Chances are they could have shot that in Philly. They could have shot it in Los Angeles, who knows? I don't know. Obviously, if it's on the street running through Philly, they shot it in Philly.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
Hi, Carl. I was just wondering, Apollo Creed isn't the only legendary sporting character you've played. What was it like to play Chubbs Peterson? And
Wait a minute. Chubbs was a legendary sports figure.
Yes, he did.
Yes,
he is.
he was so legendary, he got his hand bit off by an alligator. Come on, reaching for a ball, man. Chubbs was fun. I mean, you know, working with Adam was fun. Working in a comedy that's so screwy was fun. It was different, it was a departure, and I had a great time. Absolutely great time. So, you know, that all came about, I gotta just tell you, that came about as a result of somebody who is legendary in the film business, a man named Bernie Brillstein, who, when I met him, was not only a manager who managed a lot of, he was one of the guys who was an executive producer on Saturday Night Live forever. He had his hands in so many things, but he was a great manager. Belushi and all those guys back in the day, he was their manager. And when I met Bernie, he ran Lorimar Studios. What did I do? Action Jackson was because of Bernie. That happened because of him. He greenlit that, and he was involved with Adam's career and said to Adam, "Kyle, you should have Kyle in this." And so Kyle wound up meeting with Adam, and that's how I wound up in the movie. So a lot of, you know, wonderful stuff has happened because of really wonderful people. And Bernie, you know, bless him, that was all Bernie.
Thank you very much.
With their hands up waiting to be recognized.
Who do you think should have been the real winner in Rocky 1?
You think I should have been?
Who do you think should have been?
I was the real winner in Rocky 1. No, let me just say, okay, because it sounds really snide, but here's the way it went. It was a split decision, right? And in a split decision in boxing, if you have 3 judges, all 3 judges get a vote. What happened in Rocky 1 was 2 judges voted for Apollo Creed, 1 judge voted for Rocky, right? To win. So by split decision, Apollo Creed wins. And what happened was, In the original shooting of the movie, the scene that was shot was people picking Apollo Creed up on their shoulders and going out of the auditorium yelling Apollo Creed, Apollo Creed. When the producers saw it and realized that, we don't like that ending, we want Rocky to be the last guy standing, so to speak, in there yelling, yo, Adrian, we did it, or I did it, then let's not use that ending, even though he won. So if you look at the movie very carefully, you hear them say Apollo Creed by split decision, and Apollo Creed throws his hands up. Quick cut to Rocky and saying, yo, Adrian, I did it. So watch the movie again, and give me the money for it this time, okay? Because I corrected that for you. All right.
Did you get any actual injuries in any of the fighting scenes?
Did I get what?
Did you sustain any injuries?
Oh, oh man. Yes is the answer. Yeah, you know, you do that physical stuff, it's hard not to. Sometime, in some way, and the lesson in it all is, if anybody in this audience, young person, old person, person in between, wants to be an actor, don't be a hero. Let the stuntmen and stuntwomen do that work, because that's what they get paid for. And you love them because instead of you getting broken up, they get broken up. So yeah. But in Rocky, obviously, when we're fighting in the ring, they're right on your face. You're throwing the punches, you're getting hit. So no stuntmen in Rocky, any of the Rockies. You know, it was all us, 100% of the time. I'm gonna beg you to ask those guys back there with their hands up forever. Yeah, give them a shot, will you? Give them a shot.
Just got one question.
Yes.
Hey, Creed. This is Gordon from Manor Park, my brother Mark. How do you feel about Rocky IV, the $1 million question? Sorry, Rocky III, the ending with the third fight. Who really won? I asked you before, but it'd be great to know your thoughts. Who really won? And how did you feel about the ending being ambiguous about that third fight?
Okay, I'm ambiguous right now. I'm feeling very ambiguous. What's the question again about the...
So Rocky III, the end, the third fight, you're in the ring with...
Oh, you mean the thing after the fight?
Yeah, the $1 million question.
You asked me this question.
Yeah.
And I didn't answer it then. But you expect me to answer it now.
I'd like you to just share your thoughts about
You push. And see
Hey, we
if I
love you,
can-
Creed, come on.
Who won it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Creed won.
I don't know. Who won?
Creed.
Apollo Creed.
Who won? Wait, he's saying something.
Rocky Balboa says in Creed 1 to Adonis Creed.
He did.
You won. Apollo was the best of all time.
Part of this.
We're going to have a fight here pretty soon. Hold on.
What was your thoughts about the ambiguous third fight ending where we don't know?
What's ambiguous about it? There's nothing ambiguous. It's called a freeze frame. You make the decision. There's nothing ambiguous.
Damien, can you go to the chat at the
I love
back?
it. You're going to use big words like ambiguous. There's no ambiguity. I threw a punch, he threw a punch. We freeze framed. Who hit whom? That's all I want to know.
Just a quick one, that once we've had this question, we're going to actually bring somebody else on stage and we're going to switch genres, but if you want to ask a question about this, then we
Switch
can.
genres?
Yeah, we're going to talk about scary aliens next, but first,
I don't know what to ask now, seeing this both my questions have already been answered by someone else.
You got first 2 questions. Or 2 asks. Yeah, 2 questions. Yeah, slow down, number 1, so I can understand. And number 2, put this a little bit further away, so...
If you could have picked the winner at the end of the third fight, who would have it been? Who would you decide would have been the winner?
Are you two related?
But both my questions have already
Is
been
this
answered.
like a tag team? I mean, I love this.
illusion.
I don't know what else to ask you now.
Okay, if I had to pick a winner,
You
you probably would have won, just because of your